do that. I was going to mention that we got to make sure we're recording. Thanks, Ricky. We handed out door hangers in Milton and Chippewa Township. So some of you may have driven from that far away, or maybe from Apple Creek, but wherever you came from, we appreciate it. Wherever you came from is probably not as far as this lady came from. That's my mom. She flew in from Arkansas today for her brother's get together on Saturday, but really I think she wanted to be at the Septic Seminar.
Yeah, remember, you're ending the presentation. I got a couple points for you to do for us. Thank you.
She's right. And thank you for logging on as well tonight too. Let's start by, let's get going by introducing our speaker tonight. So our speaker tonight is Vaughn Anderson. He's the director of the Health Division of the Wayne County Health Department. He's around the hall from us in the County Administration Building, the Level County Administration Building. We work all the time on new construction. Vaughn has been the director of the Wayne County Health Department Environmental Division for 12 years. He previous to that was the Holmes Wayne Knox County epidemiologist for 5 years. He has a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science from Wright State University and working on a master's degree in Environmental Science from Wright State as well. He has a certificate of applied epidemiology from the Ohio State University School of Public Health. Just a little bit of, just do a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions in virtual, you can put them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and you can speak. If you'd like to rather speak, then type in your question. We have some question slides sprinkled throughout the presentation, so you don't have to wait till the bitter end, and you can wait for those question slides to come up, and then we'll answer the questions at that time. So they're still fresh in your mind. Make sure if you're here, if you silence your cell phones, if you would. And if things go quickly during the presentation and you miss something, we are recording the presentation, and we have this presentation posted on our website after. So again, appreciate you taking your time out on a Thursday night for this presentation. I think it will be well worth it. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you. So as Rob said, I'm originally from Worcester. Moved here from Western 86 in the bicentennial. I don't know if everybody here from Wayne County remembers the largest Sunday at the parlor. I was there. I barely remember it. And then in 1990, I went to school at Wright State University, and I lived down in Daytonville. 2004, the family decided to come back up to a small town and raise my family here, and that's where we are now. So I worked for Holmes County, Knox County, Wayne County for a while, and now I am the director of environmental health at the Wayne County Health Department, and I have a good staff and everything. And what I'm going to be covering today is just some fun, hopefully it's fun, septic basics. Okay, some of it might be more knowledge than you guys might have more knowledge than what I'm going over, but I think everything to cover is going to be important. So I'm going to start just from the basics. Go ahead, Ricky, please. Are we sure everybody on Zoom can hear us, Rob? Nobody's like said they can't hear or anything like that. Okay, thank you. So with septic basics, another thing. This is a little bit difficult because I am speaking to a crowd and I have a Zoom camera behind me. So I've decided that they're gonna see my back. Since you guys drove all the way here, you guys get bonus points. So I'm gonna be more talking to the crowd here. So sorry, Zoom people, but you might be seeing my back a little bit more. So I wanna kind of talk to the crowd that's here and everything like that. The first thing I wanna talk about is just very big. What is a septic system? And if you see, I underlined the word system. And what I mean by that, a tank, just a tank, is not a system. If you look up the definition of a system, it's actually more than one component. So a septic system is basically the treatment of your sewage and or gray water. Gray water is like your shower, your sinks. And then you have your sewage, which is your toilets, and your kitchen sink is actually considered part of your black water, your sewage, because a lot of food waste and everything has a very high organic material that's going down there. So I just wanted to cover that because I can't tell you how many times when I have spoken to people on the phone and they have said, you know, the installer came out or the contractor came out and they failed my septic system. And it's been working great for the last 90 years. I'm like, well, okay, what do you have? We have a tank that goes to the ditch. Well, nothing's really going to fail on that. So that is the most important thing is you need to have a system of components. And for a septic, there are two different terminologies that's very important. There's a treatment component and there's a conveyance component. The conveyance component takes the effluent sewage from one treatment to the other. So you might have just a conveyance, doesn't do anything with treatment. You might have a septic tank. Septic tank is good. Septic tanks can treat up to 50–60% of your wastewater. Not all of it. It's not going to remove the solids, but it's better than nothing. So it's very important for you to determine whether or not you have a system or just a basic septic conveyance component. I like to start off by asking people, not here, but this is what I ask people when I'm speaking to them on the phone or anything like that is, you know, it's like, do I have a septic system? My first question, are you paying a bill to a village, to a city or anything? Like, no. And most likely you have a septic system. However, a couple people were paying bills in the city and village didn't know it, but that, I'm not going to bring out their names here. So that's between them. So your first question is, do I have a septic system? The reason why you need to know that, it is your responsibility to maintain that septic system. You drive a car, do you get your oil changed? What happens if you don't get your oil changed? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. The septic system is kind of the same thing. The only issue with the septic system is a lot of times it's out of sight, out of mind. Flush the toilet, put stuff down the sink. Yeah, it's working good. I don't need to worry about it. But it is something that you should think about. Because as you will see, septic systems are probably the most expensive property upgrade, repair, anything that you would need to do with your property in order to replace, compared to roofs. Maybe a foundation could be as much, but a septic system is one of the most important things. So these are questions that I want people to ask themselves. If you're not paying a sanitary sewer bill, you need to find out where is your septic system. Generally speaking, should be on the opposite side of the yard than what your well is. So you need to find out where your septic system is. I have a couple pictures up there as to what are good indicators of a septic system. You have your older school concrete septic riser right there. And I like this picture a lot because what do you guys see on that picture? You see a lock. Guy has an aerator. Guess what people were doing? They were stealing his aerator and taking it to their properties and everything. So I'm not saying everybody needs to do that, but I thought if you have something like that in your yard, you probably have a septic system. This on the bottom right-hand corner is a more traditional septic system. It's a riser, usually indicates where your tank is. It could indicate where your distribution box is or anything like that. So it's kind of important to know what looks like for a riser or anything for a septic tank. So when you're out there, you need to know where your septic tank is. You need to know what is it? Is it a tank to leach lines? Is it an aerator inside of there? Do I have a filter bed inside of there? Do I have nothing after it? So it's nice to know what kind of septic system that you have, because all these questions are going to add up to the final thing, costly repairs and replacement, or how you maintain it. So you need to know also what kind of septic system that you have. Determining where your septic is and what kind of septic system you have is going to determine how you need to maintain that septic system. And that septic system can be maintained in various ways, depending on the type of septic system you have. It's not just pumping your tanks. It's not just alternating your leach field. It's not installing inspection ports, replacing your UV lights or anything like that. I'm talking about more advanced septic systems, but you need to know how to maintain it. That's a very important thing. Not only do you need to know how you maintain your septic system, you need to know when you need to maintain that septic system. I don't want you, if you have a brand new septic system, you shouldn't have to be pumping that tank every year. Right now it's like $300-400 to pump your tank. I'm sure the septic haulers out there would love for you to pump your tank every year, and they do a good job here in Wayne County. I have no problem with that, but you also need to know when you need to maintain your septic tank. And I'm going to go into that a little bit because it depends on the size, how many people you have in the house, and what kind of septic system you have. After you ask yourselves those questions at your house, I'm assuming most people know, if you're here, yet you have a septic system, but there might be some of these questions that you don't know, which is fine. What I do want you to know is where to find information about your septic. The health department has records that has been provided to us on the majority of septic systems in Wayne County. We have approximately, I'll go over this a little bit later, 1/5 of properties have septic systems nationally. Here in Wayne County, about 22,000 people have a septic system here. About 8,000 of those are discharging, which is a primary concern. And about, I would say, 2,000 to 3,000, we have no records at all. So it's really hard for us to kind of determine what kind of maintenance you need on that. So that's why we rely on our really good contractors here in Wayne County. So the health department is a good source for you to call to find out about your septic system. What is very important that I want everybody to understand is don't be scared of the health department to call about your septic system. When you call or even stop into our office and inquire about our septic system, our job is not to go after you. And I'm going to show that later. Enforcement is the last resort that we ever want to do. Nobody wins with enforcement. Nobody wins with enforcement. So you are free to call us. If we find out that we have no records, we're not driving out to your property. We have no reason to. All we know is you don't have any records. If we have a drawing that has a tank to a ditch, maybe somebody added something later. We have no reason to come out there. So a phone consultation, you come in the office, reviewing files with us, there are no red flags with us. Only times that we have to take action is we have to physically come out there and inspect the property, or we get a complaint about your property. I call that a triggered file review. And I think that's a very good way of working with the residents of Wayne County. I never want anybody to be scared to call the health department for information that could help them and protect the environment. So that's very important there. All of those questions will help you with the final thing. You want to minimize costly repairs and replacement. And in the end, not make people sick and protect the environment. I still like that chain up there. You have to lock your septic system. Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. So septic system basic function. How does a traditional septic system work? Well, you all know that you have a building sewer in your house. All of the plumbing in that house is supposed to go into that building's sewer, except for a couple items. Okay, and I'll go over that a little bit too. So all of the wastewater in that property should be going into a building sewer, and it'll be draining into your, I love that, watertight container. I've had people that had wood septic tanks. I've had people that had cinder block septic tanks. They're not very watertight. They're leaking and everything like that. So it needs to be a watertight container, which is a septic tank. And as I stated earlier, about 50 to 6% of your sewage is treated within that septic tank. That's where all your good bugs, I call them the bugs, they eat microbes, they eat all the bad stuff, all the organics, They help with some of the inorganics and everything like that. So that's where you get your primary treatment. That liquid waste, most of the solids have settled out. Those solids are our main concern. You don't want that passing past your septic tank. You want to get those solids out of the hole. You haul it out of your whole septic system there. That liquid waste exits into the soil or some other secondary treatment. That's like an aerator, filter bed, spray irrigation. There's a whole plethora of types of secondary treatments. Some work better than the others, and we'll go into that a little bit later. So once that liquid waste enters that, that's where your final treatment occurs. The effluent, which is the solids settling out, there's some sort of treatment, aerator or anything like that, percolates into the soil, removing the harmful bacteria, viruses. Move that a little bit, Ricky.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know if we could just move it all the way down. Don't show them the next slide. That's a secret slide. I think we put the mouse below it and it just kind of settles down. Yeah, I know what's going on up there. So the soil research shows that you only need about 3 feet of soil to effectively remove the majority of contaminants from wastewater. And the reason why I think that's kind of important is people are always like, oh, my well, what about my well? How deep are wells generally in Wayne County? 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 feet. Yeah. So that's not a huge concern, but there's something that Wayne County has that a lot of the north kind of glacial areas have. We have a lot of bedrock cracked, really good permeable soil. So that kind of makes the effluent go down a little bit farther. So we'll kind of cover that a little bit too. So the effluent percolates in the soil removes harmful bacteria, viruses, nutrients, or if you have an aerator or something like that, or sand filter bed, it discharges treated effluent, not just septic tank effluent, but treated effluent. So there's 2 ways that you can have your effluent taken care of. The best way to have a septic system is my favorite, and I'll show you it here in another slide, is a septic tank to a leach field. Everything's gravity. There's no electric, there's no pumps, there's nothing to maintain except for pumping your tank and periodically inspecting your septic system. Those are the best, but we can't always have that because there are a lot of determinants that you have to have a certain type of septic system based on the soils and everything like that. I thought this was just a nice traditional picture of a typical drain field. The well is away from the septic system. You have your tank, you have your distribution box, which is another component of your septic system. So I thought that was really nice. Good, Ricky. Should have got water. I threw this in today. So I was going through this and I was like, you know, people might want to see the difference between a septic system in the 1960s to a septic system in the 1970s and to a more traditional septic system in the 1980s, 90s, and where we are now. So this is what the health department basically receives if you're building or a replacement septic system. And on here, as you can see, there's a lot of information. And I'll just briefly review some of it. You have your house on there, how many bedrooms, that governs how much wastewater is going to be produced. Where the septic system is it a long contour? You don't want to have a septic system going uphill because all the water that goes into a leach line is going to do what? Go to the bottom and blow out. So it needs to lay along the contour. So I don't know if you ever seen the installation of septic system when they have a laser and it's annoying. You hear beep, 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 beep. That's all they keep on doing. They're trying to make sure that your leach lines are level. And then we go out and we do the same thing again. So it's a lot of work to do so with that. They put on there, and all these calculations are based on the soil down there. Rick, can you kind of circle the TH1 and everything like there at the bottom left? Yeah, right there. Those are soil tests that are done, and that's what governs what kind of septic system you can put inside of your property now. That's more of a modern. So this is a nice modern one. So how big does your septic system need to be? There's factors that come into that. Number one is how much water are you going to produce in the property? Okay. Number two, what is the wastewater strength coming from the property? That's another one. So would you rather have a house with 1 bedroom and 10 bathrooms? Would that affect the septic system more than a house with 10 bedrooms and 1 bathroom? It's the bedrooms that determine the size of the septic system, not the bathrooms. A lot of people question me or have questions about that. You can have 10 people living in a house using 1 bathroom. Okay. You can have 1 person in a house using 10 bathrooms. It's still the amount of water that's going through the sewer system. What you need to think about is who is creating the water. The fixtures don't create the water. In a way, you can have a leaky fixture or anything like that. It's the person in the property that create the hydraulic load and the wastewater and everything. And if you want to be just basic on your septic system design, septic systems are based on the number of bedrooms in your property, 120,000 gallons per day. That comes from the number that a lot of times 2 people live in 1 bedroom. Each person generates 60 gallons per day. And what I think is important by that is if you have a 3-bedroom house and you have the husband and wife in 1 bedroom, 1 kid in another bedroom, and another kid in another bedroom, and you have a 3-bedroom, that's 360 gallons per day. Let's say you decide to have 4 more kids. You add another bedroom downstairs. Well, you got another bedroom, didn't add any more bathrooms. So it doesn't matter how many bathrooms you have. What concerns you is the number of bedrooms, because that has the ability to have more people producing wastewater inside of your property. So it's only the health department, when we get any questions, if you're remodeling your house, our first question is, what are you adding a bedroom? Because a bedroom has more people inside of it. You're not going to add more people inside of a bathroom. So that's a good way of like kind of showing you guys that. So that kind of helps determine size. Who and what determines your septic system type? You can. There's a whole bunch of different septic systems out there. We don't determine your type of septic system. We approve what you and your designer have come up with. We make sure that system is the code so that it works for you. Our job is to protect you and make sure that the designer designed the correct septic system. So you can have a leach field if you want, but if you don't want a big footmark on your property, you can have a mound way in the back of your property. If it's behind your house and you don't want to do what? Stare at it all day. So there's multiple things. So don't think when a designer or anybody, when you have a replacement or anything comes out to your property that you have to go with one type. There's many options. There's financial options, there's size, type, and everything else with options with your septic systems. We only approve what is submitted to us. You work with your designer. Where should it be? I'll show you here in a second. The best place to have your septic system is away from your well. Get it away from your well. Also, the second best place to have your septic system is downhill. You don't want to have a grinder pump. You don't want to have a sump pump. Some of that is unavoidable. I get it. But if you can get it gravity fed, and I've stated this already before, my favorite septic system, I don't even know why I have a favorite. It's a septic system that goes from a tank, no aerator, nothing in there, straight to a leach field. Earth takes care of everything. You got to take care of the components and everything like that. You can't just sit in there and let it go. So that right there is more of a modern type of septic system. Go ahead, Ricky. This is good. All right. I pulled up some here for you guys. Go back. Okay. Stare at that one. Go back to the other one, Ricky. Which one would you rather have right now? Go back to the other one. That looks pretty crazy. I get a lot of these. So the one on the left, Ricky, that is about a 1960s style. They had better than the 40s and 50s, where a lot of times it was just going to a cesspool, or as a tank going to a field tile that went for 600 feet. So they were getting better. They said, hey, let's not discharge that off the property. Let's get it inside the soil. So they made, the best that they can. Today, I drew one thing, the dotted line up there, Ricky. I drew that on there just to show you guys what we found a lot of times happen with older septic systems. That septic system was from 1967, I believe. It probably was failing sometime in the past. A contractor, not us, did a real estate inspection on it. It was backing up. So they tied a tail line on the end of those leach lines straight to the ditch. It worked, but it wasn't supposed to be working that way. So it was discharging untreated sewage there. That's called a tail line. So I just kind of want to show you guys with that. Now we get to the 70s. I got more information. I've got a tank size. I got 720 lineal feet of leach lines. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 8 of them. So they're 90 feet long. I've got good treatment there. Really don't know much about where it is or anything like that. And is it north, south, east, west? Where's the well or anything like that? But they're getting better. So go back to the other slide one more time. Which one would you like to have a diagram if you were going to install a septic system? That one's very nice. So that's why technology has kind of caught up with us. Types of septic systems. So speaking of that, the most common type of septic system here in Wayne County is a drain field, a leach field. There's different terminologies that you can have for those. Leach field, drain field, basically the soil treats the effluent. The effluent is what is treated after it goes through its treatment. So that's the best way to describe that. And there's 3 main types of septic systems. If I wanted to categorize them, and I added the last one just today because I was thinking about it. So we have our on-site soil absorption system, which is your trench drain field, which we kind of saw a picture of that. You have your sand mounds. Those are very important if you have very clay soils. You have a high seasonal perch water table because you don't want the effluent going down there, getting to anaerobic conditions, not treating it, backing up. Doesn't work that way. It's a raised mound. They're adding more sand and soil onto it in order to treat it before it gets there. And then you have your more advanced technologies. These, in my opinion, are your last resorts. They're your drip irrigation systems. They're your spray irrigation systems, which is kind of becoming common here in Wayne County for sites that have really bad soils. So those are the basic types of septic systems with those. I want to point one thing out with the septic tank. This is a good picture with the septic tank. You have your inlet and you have your outlet. Why is the outlet lower than the inlet? If it was the other way around, water wouldn't be leaving, water would be going back into your house. So it's very important that you have your outlet, and all tanks are made this way. But I think it's kind of important to look at this and notice why septics can fail when you just have a tank. There's going to be natural settling. The tank could start slipping back. Therefore, the outlet's going to be higher than an inlet, and stuff's going to start coming back into your basement, or your drains are going to drain slowly, or anything like that. So that's why it's an important thing to get your septic inspected. If we go back to the treatment systems, we have a treatment discharge offsite. Offsite is very confusing to a lot of property owners. They're like, it doesn't go offsite, it goes right through the creek on my property. Well, what the state has defined as an offsite discharge is your sewage you might discharge on the surface of your ground. I've seen a couple of those because there's no place to discharge. It might go to the ditch in front of your property. It might go to a swale that might go into a farmer's property. It might go to a stream. It might connect to a field tile that goes 900 feet down back Orville Road and comes down into a creek. So those, in the end, what it means is it is not soil absorption. It is discharging, and then the natural ways that water moves, it's going to be discharging somewhere offlot. So that's a definition of an offlot discharge. Those are covered pretty much in your sand and gravel filter beds, which will show you some diagrams on that. Your basic aerator, which a lot of people had back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they're no longer allowed. And then what is allowed, your NPDES, which the EPA loves those acronyms, National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. Yeah, have fun with that. That's why they charge you a lot of money to maintain those, because it's a lot of words. So my whole thing is when they have a lot of words, it's going to cost a lot more money, especially with an acronym. The last one I added in today is illegal, failing, creating a public health nuisance septic systems. There's several kinds of criteria that we have to take in consideration. And the most, I think, controversial one is the EPA and the state have made all leach wells, other people call them dry wells, other people call them cesspools. And what it basically is a big hole in the ground that is deeper than it is longer, filled with maybe gravel, maybe some sand and everything like that. And your sewage goes hopefully from a tank into that dry well, leach well, cesspool, or anything like that, and gets treated this way. The problem with those septic systems is they are way deeper and they are longer. And when you go deeper, what do you get near? Your groundwater. You're getting near, if you have cracked bedrock, if you've got a sandy soil, you're going to have a lot more percolation through that soil, and it's going to go fast enough that it's not going to be treated. So that's why the state has come up with reasons why no matter when those were installed, they're illegal. Wayne County has a very good program to help property owners out that have those septic systems. We don't require an immediate replacement of it. We have a nice incremental program that's about 10 years for you to get a new septic system in. So it's a really good program that the Board of Health did approve, and it's a great program for people like that. Other counties. Do you have any idea how much? Over $50,000. A lot. So we have over 2,000 leach wells. I'm not going to be a very popular person in Wayne County right now if I tell all those people to replace it in 1 year, am I? I don't think I'll have a job. But it's just nice to know if you have a leach well. If you do, I'd be pumping that tank every 1 to 2 years to let that thing work as long as I can. And there's other things that you can do also with that. Good, Ricky, thank you. So I'll focus on the on-site based septic systems. Soil is the treatment. We can bring, more soil in to help with the treatment and everything like that with sand mounds and everything. These are the best. You're not discharging. You don't have to worry about the EPA. You don't have to worry about bond. You don't have to worry about the health department. You just have to maintain your own septic system, and it's nice and basic there. There is no discharge or runoff. And I put that up there for a primary reason is you may have a soil-based septic system, but if you're not maintaining it and the sewage is surfacing and then it's running off property, you're discharging. Or you do like they did in that one from 1967, they put a tail line on there. Stick this, it'll be working just fine. Well, your neighbor's not going to like that, I guarantee it, because those are the calls that we get all the time. So that is your basic conventional septic system. So basic conventional septic system is designed with leach line trenches, get about 2 inches of gravel below, 4-inch pipe perforated, put 4 inches gravel around it, 2 inches gravel above it, cover it with geotextile, hay, or anything like that, put your soil on top of it, you're good to go. Nice, easy installation. However, if you have really shallow soil, kind of hard to do with some of the gravel running over and everything like that. So there's another option. There's a chamber option. Chambers are kind of like a plastic conveyance of sewage effluent inside of the leach lines. So the effluent will be going into the drain field. It's nice on a shallow field, because if you're shallow and you're trying to put gravel up to build up, it's just, what's the gravel going to do? It's kind of run over and everything. Those also give you a little bit of a credit on the shrinking the size of your leach field, called, I won't get it, it's like a fines free or anything like that. So instead of needing 900 square feet of leach field, because it's effectively treating most of your effluent for the soil, you might only need 600 square feet. So when you have a small lot, it's a good option. You don't have to use this only when you have really bad soil. It's a good option to use. The last one, some people just have to go with this. It all depends on your soil. If you have a very high seasonal perch water table, creates an anaerobic condition, your sewage ain't going to be not going to be treated below that. So that sand filter is about 2 inches into the ground, because you want to use some of the native soil, so it pre-treats most of that soil through the pressurized mound. So when it gets to that bad soil, it's mostly treated and it's able to dissipate a lot easier, instead of just full on giving it its full amount of wastewater strength. It is elevated. It can be a little bit of an eyesore or anything, but plant some little flowers and everything on it. Just don't let the kids be playing on it. No sled riding or anything like that. So it is an option. It is better than discharging. It might be a little bit more expensive, and people need to remember this. Don't only take in consideration your installation cost. Talk to your designer. Oh, you did give me that. Thank you. Sorry. Give me a second. Talk to your designer. Talk to the sanitarian that you're working with as to what are the maintenance costs of the septic system. Because you might want to, take in consideration, okay, it's going to cost me $17,000, but every year I need to pay $350 for a service contract. I need to have my effluent sample for $250. I need to do my permit with that. So we're long run, or I can install a sand mound and not have any major maintenance requirements on it. So that's why I said before, it's up to you and the designer to come up with the design. Well, we don't design. We'll give you some pointers. Say, hey, your soils are really bad. Just go with the mound. Don't worry about it. But we just approve. We just want to make sure it's the code and everything like that. We don't decide what you guys are going to put in. Should be questions now. Okay. Any questions from Zoom or from the crowd?
You only decide like the septic tank itself.
Yeah, it's for bedrooms. So the minimum size is 1,000 gallons. I think that's about here. I should have Bob up here with me right now, but sorry. I think it's a 1,000 gallon tank for a 2-bedroom. Get up to a 1,500 gallon tank for a 3 to 4 bedroom. You get up to a 2,000 gallon tank for about a 5-bedroom, and from there you add about 250 gallons to it. I usually tell the difference in pricing from a 1,000 gallon tank to a 1,500 gallon tank is not really that significant. And I would rather go with a larger tank, because let's say that your family extends. Let's say that you want your mother-in-law to move into your property. Making the tank bigger, you can't. You'd have to add a whole nother tank. So go ahead and go with the traditional 1,500 to 2,000 gallon tank. And therefore, if you do need to expand, it's a lot easier to maybe add just a couple leach lines for an extra bedroom. But adding the tank, that just like quadruples your cost on that. So I usually tell people, plan for the future. It's always the best way to do it. Any other questions? Anybody raising their hand there, Rob?
No, we don't have any questions.
I must be really awesome today.
A detached outbuilding like a garage with a floor drain or maybe a kennel with a floor drain, do those need to be plugged into the septic?
So that's a kind of a gray area, and I hate saying that, but with kennel, that's Ohio EPA. That is not considered domestic waste.
Okay.
That probably needs to go to a holding tank. It's a whole nother can of worms. Should not be going. It's very concentrated. It's going to blow out your septic system. People are like, "Hey, why can't I just put it in my septic system?" Well, if I allowed you, in about 2 to 3 years, you're going to be knocking on my door. Say, "Hey, it's failed. Thanks a lot." So if you're building a detached garage and it's a floor drain and it's for snow melt from your car and everything like that, we're not going to require it. So you put a bathroom in there. That's got to go to the septic system.
Solid waste just of a higher strength.
Oh yeah, very concentrated, very higher strength. And also it's because it is designated as a business and industrial activity, not an ag exemption or anything like that.
How do you know how to determine how frequent they be?
That's coming up, Barb. It's basically on the side, how many people are living in the house and type of stuff. Yeah.
Does,
Yep.
Maybe you're gonna get this too, is that worth it? Should you use that red X stuff that you pour into your toilet?
Okay, so I have spoken to a lot of contractors. They don't recommend Red X. The natural environment of your septic tank should take care of most of the solids in your tank. Adding that Red X might work, but the problem is it should not replace you pumping your tank. That's what happens. People add Red X and they don't pump their tank, and Red X doesn't get all the inert materials out of there. And they just don't pump their tank. If you want to spread out your pumping, could use Red X. I'm just not a professional or scientific person on Red X. I just have known that people should not be using it, because what happens is then they don't pump their tank. So it's like changing your oil a little bit more often or anything like that. Red X might help, but don't skip your normal pumping inventory just because you're using Red X. Like, I'm sorry, it's like a fireplace. I use LR log to help with the buildup of creosote. I still get my chimney cleaned every 2 to 3 days. Just because I use a CLR doesn't mean I stop cleaning my chimney. That's the main point I want to drive home. Use it if you like, but don't skip your regular inventory inspections and cleanings of your septic tank. That makes sense, Barb?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. And some of the stuff that you've been talking about, it leads me to believe that we're not required to get our septic system inspected.
Not yet. Now, the state has required all septic systems to be in an operational management program. That could be a whole nother seminar. I don't want to get too much into that. But all septic systems. What Wayne County decided to do is focus on the ones that create the greatest environmental concerns. And those are the ones that are discharging to the streams, the creeks, their neighbors, and everything like that. So our priority is to get those 8,000 people on the operational program. And the very important thing that I want to tell you guys about the operational program, all we're doing, and this is when I had my epiphany, all we're doing is asking you to provide to us what you should be doing anyways to your septic system to prove that it's being maintained. I'm not trying to create more maintenance for you. I'm not trying to create more regulation for you. All I'm trying to do is have you, as the state requires, send us something to prove to us that it's being maintained. Because in the end, we all win. Less enforcement for me, longer lasting septic system for you. So it's become more of a documentation.
We have an online question
Yep.
from Doreen Good. She asks, some people recommend pouring some down your toilets every couple of months, likely to improve the breakdown of solids. Some also recommend adding some sugar to the yeast and put both down the toilet occasionally.
Never heard that before, and I don't recommend it. I recommend getting your septic tank every 3 to 5 years. And at the end of the presentation, I recommend that you do a lot of things that I'm going to cover with not putting down your drains and everything. That could be because people are putting stuff down their drains that they shouldn't be. I don't know how well yeast works inside of a septic tank, especially in an anaerobic environment or an aerobic environment. If you have an aerator, I've never made bread, unfortunately. So, good question, but I have no scientific background or proof. Recommendations from ODH, recommendations from Ohio EPA that that's an effective way to maintain your septic system.
Thanks.
Any other questions? So I just covered soil-based septic system. My favorite. Easy. You maintain it, it's gonna last for a long time. I cover my least favorite septic systems. But we got a lot of them here in Wayne County. Northern part of the county, we got a lot of clay. Northern part of the county, we got a lot of high perch water tables. Septic system's gonna fail. You have a farm and and a parcel of land's for sale. And there's a bunch of trees on this little 5-acre parcel. Red flag. Why isn't the farmer farming it? It's probably saturated soil. It's not going to grow anything. It's not going to handle a septic system. I've always have told people that when they come in, hey, well, there's this 5-acre parcel, all wooded right there. Well, yeah, might be beautiful, but putting a septic system may not work. So do your homework before you move on that. So discharging septic systems, as I said, was kind of a weird way of saying it. It's not saying that you're discharging onto somebody else's lot or you're going down the street and discharging to a stream. It doesn't go into the soil as the final treatment. It comes out of a pipe or some pipe point source that it's coming out of. So a discharging septic system pre-2007, you can have a sand filter. Those are a lot popular in the southern part of the county for electrical reasons. They were legal back then, and sewage from the house goes to the septic tank. Solids all settle out of there. They go into a distribution pipe. The sand treats it, creates a biomat, takes care of all the treatment of the sewage. Collection pipe discharges. Problem with the sand filters are buried. Really hard for the health department to determine if it's family. Really hard. A lot of times that discharge is going into what? A field tile. How long can a field tile go? 400 or 500 feet. I don't know how far I'm going to be walking across the cow paddy, get chased by a bull to look for the end of this pipe. So what you're going to see a lot of is at the end of that discharge, you're going to see an inspection port. And in that inspection port, and I recommend everybody getting one for yourselves. You're smelling strong sewage, or you're seeing, unfortunately, if you're seeing solids, that your sand filter is not working. Call a professional and start taking a look at it. We can also determine whether or not a sand filter bed is failing by if it does come to daylight, comes to a ditch, comes to a creek. We can smell, see the odor, see the presence, anything like that. They do work for a while. Very popular back in the 70s and early 80s. So sand filters were, kind of working with those kind of soils. Aerator tank. For a lot of the people that had electric and everything like that, works almost like a sand filter bed. Because a lot of sand filter, and the sand has spots, it's not compacted. So there's oxygen inside of there. So it's like almost like an aerobic environment that's occurring. With an aerator tank, you can see the effluent that goes into the inlet. A lot of the solids are precipitated out. It goes into your aerator tank. People think all they need to do is just inject a lot of air like a fish tank, just bubbles and everything like that. Yes, it does help with oxygen. You need two things. You need oxygen, you need agitation. So there's little fins on the bottom of that. Now, there are aerators that have just 2 aerators or 2 oxygenators, which do work and everything like that. But agitation is the best way because you want to keep mixing that up because that oxygen will create those beneficial bacteria that's going to down or degrade all that sewage that's inside of there. Once it's treated, it goes out to a field tile, ditch, anything like that. So those are allowed still. You can't put those in now, but they are allowed to be operational as long as they're working. Post 2007, now we come when the EPA came. You can't discharge without a permit anymore on a newer system without the EPA. So you have to apply for a discharge permit. Once you get your discharge permit, you need to install this type of septic system. Probably the most advanced septic system, and for a reason, because they don't want the water coming out of there. The premise of this, the water coming out of this pipe is cleaner than the stream and ditch that it's going into. That's the premise of an MPDS septic system. It goes into your trash settling tank. It goes into your aerator. It's pumped back in there, re-aerates. Then it gets pumped through a UV light or a chlorinator, and then it gets discharged. So the water coming out there, and it has to meet discharge limitations. You have to sample for multiple things. So like I said before, what is the last resort that you want to do? Discharge. But it is the least expensive to initially install. And that's where the big friction occurs. Do you want to pay $15,000 now and pay basically a sewer bill for your next 20 to 30 years? Or do you want to put a $20,000 septic system in now and pay maybe $50 sewer bill? So it's up to the homeowner. That's why I want them to make. However, we are the final, APA is the final determination. If you can't go soil, you can't install this. Only if there is no soil-based option. That is the last resort. So you can't come down and say, yeah, you know what? I don't want to tear up my backyard. I want this. I was like, okay, I'll fill out the form. I'll send it to the EPA. You got to pay them $200. They're going to deny you. Nothing I can do about it. Can you write something else on there? No, not going to do that. So, but they're also good when you have a 0.25 acre lot and you have no room for a septic system. So they have their role in public health. And you got to effluent sample it. You got to have a service contract on it. You have me hassling you. Where's your service contract? And I don't like doing that. So I would rather those not go in, but I understand that they have to go in on some properties. So as I said, discharging is the last resort. I wanted to cover just a tiny bit about the MS4 area, and I'm going to very generalize it. I don't think Rob's going to want to come up and talk because he's had enough of me already. MS4 area. Yeah, I know you can talk all day about that. In a nutshell, how I've said what MS4 areas, it's more of a higher density of septic systems in an area that are more prone to discharging. So these are areas of concern that the Ohio EPA has charged the county to specifically monitor those areas. Right now, it's Chippewa Township, portions of Milton Township, portions of Worcester, city of Worcester, and we'll probably be expanding again, but those are the main concerns with the MS4 area. That's why we are focused in on that. I get a lot of calls saying, hey, my neighbor that lives down in Clinton County doesn't have any of this. I'm like, well, where are you located? I'm located in Chippewa, near MS4 area. EPA is requiring us right now to do this now, whereas we're adding other people as a passive basis and everything. So as you can see, that is what a illicit sewage discharge looks. You have the gray filamentaceous, that's what it looks like. Some of those are suds, everything like that. You see that, might have a problem. You might want to call a contractor. You don't have to call me. You might want to call a contractor, because if not, your neighbor's gonna come. Then I gotta come out. That's a whole difference. I wanted to go just some of the primary contaminants. We all know that sewage has bacteria, viruses, parasites. A lot of that can be treated with some of the options in a sewage treatment tank. Soil, UV light, aerator, anything like that. We have your dissolved oxygen. This is more for like aquatic life and everything like that, and stream quality. If you're not having a lot of, you're discharging too much organic material, the oxygen's all going to be used in that stream to take that organic material. It's going to kill all the wildlife and everything. Fish are good. They eat the bad bugs or critters inside of there. So you don't want to do that. Total suspended solids, silt, anything like that, or any other kind of solids. Those go into the streams. So a lot of the concerns with the soil and water district is more the siltation and the suspended solids. Then you got your two main concerns. Bacteria and viruses are, I think, are mine. But you got your organic material and you got your inorganic material. Inorganic material, I want to kind of touch on, because that includes dumping all your prescription drugs down into your septic. It's not going to take it, guys, ladies. It's not going to treat that. Other organic material are cleaners, excessive cleaners, and everything like that. There's a lot of inorganic materials that are going through your septic system that's just not going to be treated. And when you have a very low oxygen inside of a stream, that causes more of a reduced environment for the natural chemicals to become free radicals, to cause concerns for human water and everything like that. You don't want to reduce iron. You don't want to reduce any of the hard metals inside of your water system. So those are the things that we monitor to make sure that your septic system is working. They don't meet all of those criteria right now, except for those MPDS septic systems that they are regulating now. They're supposed to meet most of those right now. So the pipe that's discharging, these all have limits. We measure those limits. If you exceed them, maybe your UV light burned out. We tell you, don't come out there and say, oh, you're got to replace it. Replace your UV light. Maybe your motor wasn't running. So we do work with a lot of people to help them. As I said before, what's my least favorite thing to do? Enforcement. I don't want to do that. I really don't. Nick doesn't want to do it. So, thanks, Ricky. So this, before you go, this is the one that I hope, go back there. I've said something about a septic tank. What should not be higher than the other thing? What's higher? Your outlet. What's going to happen? I found this on a Ohio EPA site. I'm like, that's not a good tank. It's going to back up to the person's house. But the reason why I put that one up there again is you should have 2 inspection manholes up there. You want to see your outlet baffle, you want to see your inlet baffle, anything like that. But if your tank, if it was lower and your tank starts shifting, you can have this problem. So we're going to do a little bit of an interactive thing, kind of fun. I've done it a couple times, but we'll see if we can get working. Be able to move that one part down again. There we go. It's sort of an interactive online, and it kind of just shows where the so you guys can kind of see it. So all the way goes. Click on the toilet. about how many gallons per day your toilet. No, so that works out. Go and run the water or click on the toilet again. Sorry. All right. Go ahead and go to misuses. Okay. So unfortunately, disposal. It's there for it's not there to put food wrappers, tissues, shred, fiber, disposable paper. You have that moisturizer lotion and everything. You don't want to be and male hygiene. And a lot of things after it. Disinfecting wipes, you don't want to do that. That's years. Because a lot of people were putting their disinfecting wipes down under their toilets. Now, luckily, a hauler like that, but it was kind of an eye opener during that period. Has to be put down. Diapers, I don't know who anybody know how that happens. So sink. Oh no, I'm sorry, flush. Where does it go? Go see stuff. The sink's almost kind of misuses, please. Still the same thing. You're gonna have more hair and everything like that. That you need. You just need to look at thing. You know, if it can, something that can go into your trash, don't put it down the drain. Septic system is already working hard enough. If you're out $15,000-$20,000, it's okay to put it inside of your trash can, paint and everything like that, but just don't do it. Same sometimes the chemicals down. You have this much bleach, it's gonna pour it all down there. Not a good idea if you singly dose your septic tank with that. You know, but it's going to contribute to other factors. Compounding reasons why your septic can fail, not just the toilet, just the sink, not just the filter. Compounding factors cause your septic system to premature fail. Everybody say the ABCs. That's correct. Turn tough. So again, there, a lot of times people buy perm, whatever, treat their hair. That is kind of why have a hair salon. Not your septic system. It is known to create caustic issues. I mean, diluted pretty well. Got to do what you want to do.
We got a message somehow. Ever since you started this.
Me,
Too much. Yeah, your sound.
okay, we won't do any of the before we take a shower.
I need to say when you're using it.
Okay. Not a problem. Let's go down to dishwasher. Appliances used and everything. If you can, that's great. Your plate This is on how much you use your garbage disposal, and we'll get to that. Have some respect your septic system. If what you're saying people like all their past, put that big down. It is okay, so let's check to make sure. Can somebody confirm you can hear me fine now? Bob, Amanda?
I can hear you, Vaughn.
I can hear you, Vaughn.
All right, thank you. I'll have a link to that interactive video. I thought it was really good, and it was. It just it's having issues with the sound system, so I'll blame Rob on that one. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay. Now we're getting to some of the stuff that I think a lot of people want to know. We kind of understand a little bit about different types of septic systems. Now we're going to learn how to maintain those different types of septic systems. You need to have your septic system routinely inspected. I'm not saying that you have to call a professional. You should periodically just check out your septic system. If you have a leach field, probably when you're mowing, you're checking it out. Like that. If you have a septic tank, open it up. Make sure the sewage isn't like right at the top of there. Check some things out. Just kind of walk around to it. You know, it's like not like a car, but you want to take care of it. It's expensive and everything. So, but I do recommend you at least get it routinely inspected by a professional at least once every 3 years. Things can happen. They can catch a problem immediately before it becomes a major problem. When they inspect your septic systems and they find a problem, they don't call me and tell me, hey, Ricky, I was at his house, his septic's not working. You got to get out here. They'll call us. We'll get the records, create a plan, try to get it all working, everything like that. We're not, as I said, the bad guys. I don't want to be a health department that people are scared to call. I want to be the health department that people feel comfortable calling to get information, to make educated decisions to help save them money. The only time I have to do something is if I come out there and you want to pay me to inspect it and it's draining from your house to your neighbor's well, I got to do something about that. So it's a little bit different. But a household sewage treatment tank usually should be pumped every 3 to 5 years. However, that's just a generalization. The frequency is influenced by several factors. What size of is your household using the septic tank? Like I said before, if you have a 3-bedroom house and you have 9 kids living in that property, it's not producing 360 gallons per day. It's producing a lot more. You want to probably be pumping that more on the low end, 1, 2, 3 years to keep it working. How much wastewater are you generating? Do you have young families that are probably taking more showers? Are you an empty nester? You don't have the kids any time in there? Dishwasher is actually good. They don't use as much water as hand washing dishes. What do? You just leave the water on and do everything. Take in consideration about how much water that you're using inside of your house. The volume of solids. Do you have a garbage disposal? How often do you use that garbage disposal? Are you limited to using garbage disposal? Do you wash your pets? Do you have a little doggy place that you're selling dogs and you're putting all the hair down inside your septic system. So take a look at your volume solids. How big is your tank? Tanks back in the 40s and 50s could be a crock, 500 gallons. That's not very big, single compartment. Probably should pump in that every single year. Shouldn't cost you as much as pumping a 2,000 gallon tank, but it could save you a lot of money later to keep maintaining that. And what's being flushed? Are you flushing a lot of stuff that shouldn't be going down inside of the toilet? Male, feminine hygiene products, tissues, blowing your nose. Have you ever tried to break those compared to toilet paper? It's hard. Baby wipes, disinfection wipes, like I just said, happens. So what's being flushed down the toilet? If you can't remember the last time you pumped your tank, I'd be calling somebody now. I don't get any extra money, by the way. I don't get any extra money. So I would be pumping your tank to get it up and operational and come on some sort of routine pumping of your septic tank. Pumping your septic tank, I think, is the number one, besides limiting your hydraulic load and everything else going into your septic system. It's the number one thing to protect your septic system is getting that pumped. I wanted to I threw this one in today, your septic system and your well water. As I kind of said, if you have a well, I recommend you get it annually tested, not just because of your septic system. Wells change. Your grouting could get cracked. Your casing could get cracked. Your pump could be old. You could have multiple factors that could affect your well water, not just from the septic tank. You might need your well cleaned. You might need your pump replaced. Simple things like that don't require a permit or anything, but simple things to maintain your well. The reason why having a good well is how deep are wells compared to septics, as I kind of said a little before. Septics, I don't know too many septics that have gone down below 36 inches. You can't be shallower than 20 feet on a well without a variance and with extra precautions, extra casing, or anything like that. Maybe a UV light. So, and I said about the first 3 feet of soil will effectively treat most of that effluent. The caveat to that is, unfortunately, what kind of soil you have. If you have sandy soil, it's going to run right through there. So you might have a little bit of problem. You might be on bedrock, fissures. The effluent is going to work its way on down there. We do have that here in Lake County. But having a good casing around that well deep is going to prevent you not only from your septic, but from surface water. Normal animals, bird poop, dog poop, pesticides, fertilizers, anything like that. So it's not just your septic system that you should worry about, it's other things. So I wanted to tie your well, it's important also. So test your well water, I recommend at least annually. And it's not that expensive, you do it yourself, it's like $45 for a bacterial. I call that a nice indicator. If you have bacteria inside of your well, you might just need it chlorinated because there might be some slime built up inside of your well, or there might be an issue. So test your well, you might just need it chlorinated. Get it tested again, it's fine, good to go. Get it tested, it keeps coming back bad. You might have a cracked case. You don't be drinking surface water. Not saying it's coming from your sewer, but you could have just surface water contamination that's inside of your well. I kind of like this picture because it shows many sources of possible contamination in the environment. You've got your point source, which is like your discharging coming out of a pipe, coming out from a water treatment plant, right there. You got your agricultural runoff, non-point source through a field, manure, everything like that. You got your rural homes, which represents your septic systems. You have surfacing sewage, anything else coming out from a pipe. You got your regular runoff from city streets and development, your tire buildup. You get a lot of contaminated silts and everything like that. It's more stormwater, but it does affect the environment and can affect other things. So there are many sources of contamination, but the most important thing is to maintain your septic system and test your well and maintain your well also. Treat it like your baby car. you should have a maintenance sometime on it. And if you don't even have to follow my maintenance requirements, but at least have it maintained. If you don't know when the last time you maintained it, I would just do it. It'd be a nice peace of mind. And you also like it when you sell your property because you're gonna have good records to back up the sale of your property too. So a little bit more, why is maintenance important? Number one, I know this isn't public health, but I want to do this for you guys, can save you guys thousands of dollars. As I stated before, septic system replacement is one of the largest investments of a property, more than a roof. Might be up where nears a foundation replacement or anything like that. Maintain your septic system. People like to think of a septic system as out of sight, out of mind. Flush the toilet, care where it goes. You don't want to know where it goes. I don't want to know where it goes either, but it's something to keep on the top of your mind. Having a properly functioned septic system also protects you and your family, which is my primary concern, and also your neighbors or the residents of Wayne County. And then thirdly, the environment. Yes, I put the environment a little bit after, but because septic systems, my role is make sure human health is protected by environmental factors. So you want to, and I'll get a call. If your septic is discharging sewage, I will get the call. And I will be out there. Not me, I'll send one of my minions out there too. They'll take a look. They won't throw the book at you, they'll work with you, by the way. We have a really good working relationship. Also, having a good septic system with records of maintenance really will help your property value. Now, I know that's not public health, but it's something that I just wanted to bring up with you guys that it's very important. You want to have a good roof. Are you going to sell a house with a leaky roof? You might if you hide it. You're not going to hide a septic system failure. It's going to be showing up stinky. No pun intended there. It will. So you want to continue to maintain and not have to have these consequences that's going to affect you in the future. Any questions?
You have one online. Yes, is a concrete tank with a lid and riser still the standard, or have tanks made of plastic or fiberglass supplanted them in popularity? Or are they allowed?
You know, I haven't really seen an argument for or against them. Some people are using the plastic tanks if they're having to drive pretty far back into the property and not create a bunch of damage with a heavy piece of equipment with a, several ton septic tank. I personally like the concrete tanks. I think they last longer. I have no issues with the fiberglass tanks. They're both approved and everything like that. And like I said before, that comes up to the property owner, designer on deciding, there's pros and cons for them, deciding which they want to do. So a concrete tank is fine. I have some installers that won't do a concrete tank often. I have some installers that won't do a plastic tank often either. There's some installation requirements on each of those. But I've seen both of them going in the county, and I haven't heard too much about one is better than the other, but it's something that you can, as a price, I don't know much of a difference either with those prices.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We have a garbage disposal, and we use it, we're pretty careful. Orange peels, we've always been told that's good for garbage disposals. Is that a good thing?
It's good for, that's good for garbage disposal to get rid of the odor. I know it's good for your septic system. I'd rather prefer you to pour some lemon juice down there, something like that. Now, occasional orange peels, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't want you guys ripping out your garbage disposals when you guys go home. Just don't use it like my kids. I mean, they put the crayons in there, they put everything inside the garbage disposal. But yeah, using garbage disposal is fine. So.
You guys inspecting the installed system. You inspect after it's already installed.
Yeah, so what we do is the installer is supposed to give us a notice at least 24 to 48 hours. We're pretty busy to have a pre-cover installation. When we come out to do the inspection, most of it is still exposed. We take a laser, we make sure that it matches that plot plan that I remember, that site plan I showed you. We make sure they're using 4-inch PVC Schedule 40 sewer pipe. We can see it, measure the fall, it needs to have a certain amount of fall. We take a look at the tank, make sure the tank make and model matches the plot plan. So they're not supposed to cover it up until we come out and inspect. Occasionally, due to weather, freak storms happen during the summer. And they call us for an inspection. We can't get out there in time. They'll put stand pipes, which means it's a pipe that goes on top of the tank, pipe goes on top of the sewer line, and we can look down and make sure that's what it is. So once we approve it, then they can cover it all up. We're not done yet still. So we are required by law to come in within 12 months after that installation to inspect it again, which is included in your permit, to make sure that it's properly functioning. I have had a couple septics, I think since I've been here in 2011, 2 that may have failed within 1 year. Things do happen. Soils sometimes are just, it's science. It's gonna fail or anything like that. So we do come out 12 months later to make sure it's been properly graded, anything like that. Anybody can pull the permit. You can pull the permit, the builder can pull the permit, the contractor can pull the permit. The requirement, what's that?
From you guys.
Yeah,
What's the price?
you gotta pull, we issue the permit. So anybody can apply for the permit. Sorry, that's better terminology. So you can apply as long as you have a registered installer and you have your site evaluation done, you have approved site plan done. You can come in and apply for a permit. We'll make sure everything's there, and then we'll mail all that to your installer. We do. Yeah. So basically how the system works is you work with a septic designer. You'll come up with your type of septic system like I showed you before. You'll come up where you want it located or anything like that. The septic designer will submit everything to the health department. We'll take the soils, we'll take the site plan, we'll go out to the property and make sure that there's no issues, like the well isn't going right there, your driveway's not going through it. We don't see any red flags. We approve the site at that time. Once that site is approved, you can come in and issue the permit. Paper print. You can do it. Builder can do it. Any authorizing agent that you authorize can do that.
What's the fee for that?
For the permit, it's $450 to install. 450 for the septic permit. Alteration permit is $250 for that. That includes 3 inspections. Anything else?
Lon, is the first step the soils investigation, so your designer can.
Yeah, the soils is very important. Right then and there, you can pretty much tell what type of septic system you're gonna have. I have some homeowners that will pull the soils and they'll come and consult with us, and I'll give them a lot of the pros and cons. I don't have any installers or designers that are trying to sell one product. They're supposed to work with the property owner. What is the best septic system for you? Our job is only to make sure that septic system that you want, that they designed, meets the code so that it works. That's where we are. We're the top stopgap for you, the property owner. We want to make sure it works also. Any others?
No more questions.
No?
Is there a suggested amount of each line feet per bedroom? Like how far?
That's based on the soils. And it's based on the bedrooms also. You could have really good sandy soils, which disperses the effluent very well, and you won't need a lot of leach line. You could have a high clay content, which you're gonna need a lot more square feet to slowly dissipate that through the clay contact. Because if you don't have enough, it's just gonna go up on the surface. And I'll kind of show that how leaching gets all treated and everything like that. Also, it comes into place is slope. If you're on a high slope, that effluent's going to travel through that soil a lot faster. So you can have a smaller leach field. So there's a whole bunch of factors that we do and calculate. It's all math now, science. When we get all that stuff, and I was going to put a slide in there, but I'm probably already coming up to an hour and everything like that. But that would be another presentation we were willing to do is how do you design a septic system? It's pretty interesting. I just thought, they go out and they dig a hole and they put a bunch of stuff in there and everything's fine. But that looks like before, that's what they did back in the 40s and 50s, as you saw. The leach lines are going all over the yard, not knowing where they were, so. Anything else?
Another question is, I've heard that having your laundry go into the septic is like kill your bugs and you have to pump the tank out more often. Is that?
If you're bleaching,
Doesn't.
A lot. Yeah, bleaching is what it is. The detergents is more organic. Unless you're, and I'm gonna get into that also. You don't want to do, if you're a family like 7, you don't want to run 20 loads of laundry on a Sunday. I know you like to just get it over with, but it's nice to kind of space out some stuff so you're not just overloading your septic system. So adding kind of weird stuff to your washer, like too much bleach or anything like that. But if you're just bleaching a little bit, it shouldn't be affecting your septic system that much. It's when you disinfect a well that could really affect your septic system. It's coming up here. Here are some SEP tips. This is a photo from one of my sanitarians. I think that's algae. That's green dye. That came directly from somebody's septic system. Very important thing here. Just because we saw green dye doesn't mean it's failing, okay? Because it could be an area discharging. We might just be trying to locate where it discharges and everything like that. But if you see in there, you see a lot of the organic floatable material. So that's not good. I'll show you another picture of just green dye here in a second. So some of the sub tips that you can do is clean up your sink. Don't be throwing random things down there. Don't strain your drain. You got a running toilet, you got a drippy faucet, fix it. That's unneeded hydraulic load on your septic system. Fix it. Keep it clean. Make sure you're testing your well. Make sure that your septic system isn't surfacing, which could affect your well. Shield your field. I'm not saying put a fence around it. Know where it is. Okay, that's what I think. I want people to know is where is your field. The worst thing that you can do is during April, when we're starting to grass grow. You got a shallow leach field, wet. You got a brand new riding mower. This thing is awesome. It's like this wide and just cut all the grass. You look behind you, you got ruts right through your leach field. You crushed all your lines. Not good. So you want to kind of not do that. So shield your field by knowing where it is. Protect it, inspect it. And like I said before, you don't have to hire a professional. Go out there and take a look at your septic. Walk your field. Do you see anything that's of concern? Are you getting big clumps of grass growing? The grass shouldn't be growing during like August. You might have a little bit of surfacing issue right there. Open up your tank. Is the sewage almost up to the riser? Turn on your shower, look in the tank. If it's rising and it never goes down, you might have a problem with your effluent. So there's just kind of simple things that you can do just to make sure that your septic, you don't have to pay somebody hundreds of dollars to come out and inspect it. If you recommend a professional inspection though, at least, 3 years or anything like that, because they can really catch an issue before it becomes a problem. There are a lot of things that you can do to repair a septic system prior to you having to replace that septic system. But once you get past that repair time frame, you might be looking at a replacement. So catching things early is the most important thing. And pump your tank. If you're sitting here on Zoom or you don't know the last time that you pumped your tank, I would be calling within the next month to get your tank pumped. And I don't get a bonus for that at all. So I would get your tank pumped. I like this picture right here. On the bottom right, see all that green dye? They had a legal septic system. But when we went down to the basement, we put dye inside their laundry sink and to their sump where their washer and dryer goes. Find this a lot in older houses. All of the gray water, and they had a bathroom down there too, went straight out to the ditch. That's green dye. Everything else in the house that was on the first, second floor went to their septic system. That's illegal. You can't do that. All they had to do, I know it sounds bad, all they had to do is install a sump, pump it up to their sewer line. Or nobody likes their laundry in the basement on an older house. They actually moved their laundry facilities to the main floor and they liked it a lot better that way too. I'm not saying that was a benefit to them, but that's what an illicit discharge looks like when it's not going into the septic. Think about your drain, stagger the use of water-based appliances. Don't have 4 people taking a shower, running your dishwasher and running 20 loads of laundry at the same time. It'd be nice to kind of stagger it out a bit. It does take a water a little bit for your effluent to dissipate inside the soil and out of the tank. It's just not going to be running out unless you just have a tank. Or you don't have a tank and you just have a sewer line. It's just going to be running out. You can run all the water that you want. And don't put trash inside your toilet. It's just going to clog up the system. It's going to create more solids that aren't going to be made degraded inside of your septic tank or anything like that. So just think about that. And some of the biggest things that really can affect the septic system are your fats, your oils. Fry a turkey. Don't pull the whole 5-gallon thing of peanut oil down inside of your septic system. That's not good. That will really have a problem. Cleaning materials, use it sparingly. I'm the kind of person that overuses cleaning materials. My wife will come home, she says, it smells like bleach. I'm like, it's clean. Like, no, I have a headache. So just, a little goes a long way. Don't use a whole bunch of cleaning materials that can affect the bugs, the good stuff inside of your septic tank. And don't put your medications inside of your drain. There's a lot of disposal areas throughout the county, sheriff's office, CVS, Rite Aid. Take your prescriptions there. Don't put them down the drain. They'll just go straight into the water system. There's that picture. He got a nice mower, didn't he? What did it do? Created a little bit of an issue. So, and as I was saying, shield your field. You don't need to put a sign up inside your field or your leach area. You just want to know where it is. Don't have a big riding mower over it during a whole big wet time of the year or anything. Don't want to be parking big cars. You don't want to be building your pool on top of it. You don't want to be putting a pole barn on top of it. Know where it is. Stay away from it. Let it work. Livestock. You should shield it off from livestock. They will damage your septic system. Maybe not so much as the older septic systems that are about 36 inches deep. Less of concern, but it's still something that I wouldn't want to be messing with on that type. So you would want to shield them away, especially heavy livestock. Don't drive over it when it's wet. Know its location type. Periodically inspect it. And I'm not saying hire somebody. I'm saying go out and walk it. See if you see any of that. And you're like, oh, yeah, I better call somebody. Don't want to call Bond though. He'll come out here and get me. So call anybody and pump your tank. The worst thing that can happen to your septic system is those solids from your tank getting into your leach field. Those solids from your tank going through your aerator, not getting properly treated and showing up in the ditch, and then you have fungus and you have sewage inside of there. That's the big thing. If you notice a failure, call a professional. Did I say call the health department? You can. Like I said before, calling us does not institute a complaint. We want to know what's going on and how we can help. So you can either call a sewage contractor, have them out there, call me on the phone, say, hey, Vaughn, it's coming out of my riser. It's like, sounds like your outlet is clogged or your filter needs to be changed or your D-box is, you didn't switch your fields. a lot of good stuff that I can give to you just on the phone, and you're like, hey, it worked. Yeah, thanks. Calling me does not have me come out to your house unless you want it to. And we will work with you. So a typical sign of failure, wastewater is backing up into your drains. Your drains are slowly drained. That doesn't just mean that it's the septic system. It could mean that you've got clogged pipes or anything like that, but it's just something that you want to pay attention to. Bright green spongy grass on your drain field. If you have septic system, you might have striations outside the yard, which is fine. But if that grass is getting higher than you and it's a little bit soggy, you might have a bit of an issue. Pooling water, muddy soil around your septic system, or even coming up on your floor of your tank, or coming out of your septic tank. So you want to take a look at that. And the most common one that you're going to find is if you're out there mowing, and you smell something, you probably have a problem out there. This is what happens on a typical leach field that has too much solids inside of it. You get that orange little area right around that trench. That's your increased thickening biomass. That causes no water infiltration past that. The only way the water can go is what? On a properly functioning leach field, your water is treated and down the leach field. So it's a good infiltration. So when you get saturated soils, it's going to start surfacing. Things that you want to look to. And the biomat is important too, because some of you might have a switching leach field, which means every 6 months, you might have a distribution box with an elbow. You might have 2 leach fields. Every 6 months, when you turn the clocks back, you should take that elbow with gloves on, move it from that elbow to the other, because when you rest a leach field, that biomat degrades. And in 6 months, it's ready to go again. So if you have a switching leach field, if you don't know if you do, you call us, and hopefully we have a record. We can tell you, you better start switching that on every 6 months basis. Do not connect these items to your septic system. And if they are connected, get them off. Your footer drain. A lot of older houses have their footer drains going into their septic system. Some builders have, or contractors have unknowingly connected the footer drain to this sewer system that hydraulically overloads too much water to your septic system there. Downspouts, I've only seen a couple times. If you're connecting your downspouts to your septic system, you got problems. Don't do that at all. Your sump pump in your basement, when you're waterproofing, don't put that inside your septic system. Clean water. You don't need that to go into your septic system. Your water softener recharge, it should not be going into your septic system. It's too salt, too much water going to your septic system. When you disinfect your well, after you disinfect your well, you're supposed to run your water for 24 to 48 hours to bleed all that chlorine out. A high concentration of chlorine, a high amount of water that is going into your septic system. If you turn on the showers and everything like that, connect a garden hose to your outside, run it out to the opposite side of your yard and let it bleed slowly. Don't put that inside of your septic system. If you have continuously running fixtures, toilet, dripping sinks, anything, fix those. I'm not going to say it's going to cause it to fail, but it's going to be a compounding factor with these other items that cause your septic system to fail. And garbage disposal. Think about what you're putting down there and how often you're using it. Nice to have a compost pile. So these are some really good pictures of what we have seen, wastewater surfacing outside of the septic tank. It's not draining. That's what you'll see on a failing leaching field. Septic surfacing. See how the big clumps of grass are growing and everything there? That's a failing septic system right there. We have saved fields. They didn't know they had 2 fields. We switched the elbow to the other field that hadn't been used for like 5 years. That one rested. Now they have a properly functioning septic system. So it could be a simple fix that you didn't know about that we could help you out with. So phone calls are good. We will help you. Our health department role. Look what I put last. enforcement. So last resort, guys. As I said, nobody wins in enforcement. It takes a lot of time. Nobody's happy. It's not fun. I'd rather do education, consultation, work with you to get what we need to do to fix your septic system and not affect your neighbors and your family and your health. We are in charge of permitting. Some items don't require a permit. Like if you need to replace a sewer line, you got an old clay line, you put a new sewer line. If you're doing the same thing, you don't need a permit, just let us know. Your D box broke, replace it, it's fine. If you're replacing a tank, a major component, you do need those. So I'm going to make sure you're installing the proper thing. We oversee operational maintenance also. We want to make sure that people are maintaining their septic systems. It's actually in your best interest to maintain your septic system. It's not something that we want to do. It's a big program. There's 22,000 of these. I have 4 septic sanitariums. Do the math. So if I prevent us having to do enforcement by education, by doing proper permitting, by having you guys do what you're supposed to be doing with operation and maintenance, the enforcement part of this is going to go down. And I'm happy. I didn't take this job to do enforcement. I really didn't. Sometimes it's necessary, as I said, but those top 3 things right there will help alleviate that enforcement part. And I kind of put a little nice definition there of environmental health. We just pretty much work with the environmental factors to protect your guys' health. That's actually another failing leach field. Person said it wasn't. It was smelly, stinky. It was really bad. So I'm gonna just do a short 2 minutes, kind of summarizes everything.
They'll help you better. How to damage your septic system. Number 2, don't handle water. Test your well once water system failure.
I could have had you all, I just watched that, unless you prefer me speaking. So right here, wayne-health.org. That is our website. You look on our tabs, at the programs, we have registered contractors. Use a registered contractor to inspect, service, anything your septic system. We also have some of this helpful tips and links on there for you. If you're requesting property information on your septic, you don't know what you have, you can email us at ehinfo@wayne-health.org. Give us your name and your address, and we'll see if we have any records, and we'll scan and email them back to you, or however you want them delivered to you by mail or anything like that. The Ohio EPA Septic Smart, which I got some of this material from, I put that link up there too. And our phone number here at the Wayne County Health Department, we're here to serve you. It's 330-264-2426. And my name is Vaughn Anderson. Any other questions? I went over my time, so I think everybody's ready.
We have no more questions, Paul.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
I want to thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and as
Who do I invoice?
right there, there's a man right there. As my wife says, digital never dies. So this has been recorded. It'll be on our website. And so your knowledge will continue to spread beyond this room and for the people online. So appreciate everyone online logging in today. Appreciate everyone here coming in person as well. I want to give a shout out also to Ricky Pape. He put together the bones of this presentation initially. Also designed the door hangers that we put out, and he's been the man behind the scenes here, clicking the slides across. But again, let's give another hand to Bonnie. Thank you again. If you have any other questions, like I said, you can contact Vaughn at those numbers. This presentation will be on our website. And for the people that are here, as your way out, you can take a nice 75th anniversary Wayne Soil on the Water pen out of that mug. And then we've also have some, I meant to mention at the beginning of the presentation, but the slides are printed out here. You can grab one of those on your way out if you like. So thanks again for coming. Thank you. Drive home safe.
I'll let you break down the room thereof.
Oh, yeah, there's that. There.